Good evening, fellow morons. Welcome to Horror Week. Sean was specially requesting this week, and he's been looking forward to it for a long, long time. But how are we all feeling after our Horror Week, guys?
Absolutely gutted it's over.
I'm buzzing for the next set.
Well, we
I
did.
should just do that every week. Like, it was really, really enjoyable.
Well, do you know what? That was certainly under consideration. I think putting Horror Week as maybe a fortnightly theme would be a really, really good one. Sean cannot wait to watch any more of these. But thank you very much for those that have joined us already. Welcome in. Today we are going to be discussing The Conjuring and Insidious. Who remembers what were last week's movies?
Inglorious Bastards.
Oh,
Yeah.
Inglourious Basterds and Prisoners. So, just a reminder, guys, Inglourious Basterds came in at number 30 on the list of the Morons leaderboard with a 2.5. And Prisoners, which I cannot find, came in directly below it at 31 at a 2.45. Before we move on to talk about the movies for Horror Week here, I just want to give you an update to the top 3 movies that are still sitting here on our leaderboard. As you will see pop up, we have changed the leaderboard to a little podium that we have here. Sitting in third place, we have Shawshank Redemption, which sits on a pretty 4.4. In second place, we have Seven at 4.6. And still the top choice, picked by me, obviously, Parasite, which was a incredible 4.65 scored on the Moron scale. So enough about them. We're going to pass straight over to our resident horror expert, and Sean's going to take us away about his experience of watching The Conjuring. Let's start with The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Is it? Okay.
I know, I've been waiting for you to say that. Can we just go back a bit first, Kyle? What score did the Inglorious Bastards get?
2 point... 2
That's
point...
alright.
No, it didn't, eh?
Is
I
it?
got fucked in that, I'm sure.
Well, that must have been Burns's marks, because I've added it into my list here at 2.5. But we'll review that later, and we can update that after. It's really, really high at 2.5. To be honest, it should maybe be a little bit lower, so we can review that on the VAR later. But sorry, before we go into talking about The Conjuring just now, I just want to say what the synopsis of it is on IMDb. It was a movie that came out in 2013, an amazing amount of time on it. Sean got to spend it at 1 hour and 52 minutes. It had an IMDb rating of 7.5 out of 10, and it is the paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren work to help a family terrorised by dark presence in their farmhouse. And this movie is inspired by true events. So a true horror movie from the paranormal side of it. Sean, take us away.
Fantastic. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of horror films. Like, I get scared really, really easily. It's just ridiculous considering I'm a fully grown 31-year-old man. Well, everybody's got something that they're scared of, I suppose. When I was watching it, there was bits that I could remember. I've obviously seen bits of it when Laurie's been watching it. She's been trying to get me to watch stuff at least practically every week. She wants me to watch a horror film and stuff like that. So it was bits that kind of came back to me as I watched it. It didn't really make it any less scary or anything like that though. Obviously the clapping thing and stuff like that. Laurie went about the house for 2 days just constantly doing random clapping noises or whatever. But it's scary. I don't really know what to say about these films. It's no, like, I don't particularly enjoy watching them. I'm not really paying attention to the storyline. I'm more focused on when it's daylight, I can kind of calm myself down a bit, and when it goes night time, I get a bit, like, you know what I mean, I kind of tense up. I'm waiting on like something fucking scary happening. The wee hands coming out of the cupboard is one bit that I did remember, but that was after it happened. I absolutely shot myself. I just don't. The whole kind of paranormal thing is probably the thing that I'm most terrified of, because nobody knows if it's real or not. No, but it done its job on me. It scared me. The storyline is very basic. House is haunted. doesn't matter if they move home, it's a tax themselves to them or whatever it was. But I don't really know what to say. It scared me shitless. And the fact that it is based on true events, whether you believe that stuff or not, makes it even more terrifying for me anyway. I've literally been walking around the house with every single light on for the past week. Electricity bills fucking hit the roof. And also, because of the heat as well, I've been sleeping with the door open, watch the window to try and create. I'll have to get that door shut because there's no way I could wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just convince myself there's somebody standing at my fucking bedroom door. Actually, the night after the night that we watched it, I fell asleep first, and I woke up in the middle of the night and Laurie had the fan on, and I would tell her to turn the fan off when she's sleeping. Like, don't leave it on when you go to sleep. Kind of paranoid that it blows up or something. So when I woke up, I could just hear this noise, this zzzz, and then the fucking bedroom door's open. Absolutely shattered. Right, I could wake her up and ask her if she opened the bedroom door.
Oh God, Sean, you really...
How do you get it through life, Sean, man?
I don't watch horror films.
Even then, let's go back a bit, you're also terrified of a fan. You're also scared that a fan's going to explode in the middle of the night.
That was only because Jerry told us that his blew up like 2 weeks ago. So it's just in my head. I live my life in the...
You're a really worried person quite a lot of the time based on that.
Oh, aye. Yeah. 24/7. No, I like to live my life very safe. I don't like to put myself in any positions where anything could possibly go wrong. Which you probably like to do anyway.
So has this inspired you to go on and watch The Conjuring 2 and then carry on from there, get the whole storyline?
Nah, I said to Laurie that I'd watch The Strangers again. I've seen bits and bobs of The Strangers, and just because I kept pausing it during The Conjuring and that, because obviously we watched it at night, and I just like shite bag. So I said to her I'd watch The Strangers, so I watched that. But I think I'll give myself a well-earned break in horror films.
She must feel like safe at night, eh? Like,
if you could have fucking the world's strongest man break into my house and I would defend her. If there's a child with a bonnet dressed to the 60s, I'm fucking out of there. Absolutely no way, mate. Or if a woman comes in a white dress, chalk white, fuck that. Give me the big show any day of the week. Yeah, that.
Happy days. Well, it sounds like you have actually, like, it's quite refreshing as somebody living like that horror experience where you are scared of it, you are worried about it, you don't know what's coming or how you're going to react to it, and you're constantly having to pause it to chill yourself out. Because I always think when watching horror movies that they're structured very similar, where you've got 5 minutes and a little bit of backstory and it's calm, you find out a little bit of bits here, and then you've got 10 minutes of tension building. And I think this movie is really good at building tension. Like, it builds the tension into... put that fear into you that something's going to happen, because for me when I watch horror films it's all about what might happen rather than what actually happens in the movie. And we'll touch on this a little bit more with Insidious later, but when it slow builds some of the scenarios and you get that point where you're like, the hair's starting to stand up, you want to hide behind something, you don't quite want to see it, but the scare factor is not always that scary, if that makes sense. Like that, then it doesn't typically frighten you. I watched this also with my partner, and she watched it pretty much through a pillow for the whole hour and 52 minutes. I don't know if you actually had to see anything. I had to narrate most of it as well about what was going on, so that she could get the storyline for it. So it was like I was watching it with Sean.
Oh, trust me, that's what I was like at all. I've got a confession, especially with The Conjuring, when there was a bit where it was getting tense. Because I've got glasses on, I feel like I can disguise where I'm looking, but I can't really. But I was just looking at my TV stand instead of the actual TV.
So you didn't even see half it?
Well, I could see like something happening above the TV stand, but I'm just focused so much on that TV stand. I don't want to fucking move my eyes.
So Sean's basically had the Conjuring soundtrack for an hour and 52 minutes. He's still shat himself the whole way through it.
Still shat himself every time someone claps.
Joe, let's talk about hide and clap though, by the way, because when that first kicked in, I thought that's quite a cool game that kids would play, like in back in whenever, like the times it was set. But when the different claps were happening, and then when the wee girl comes into the room, but the clap had just come from that big wardrobe. Like I was like, oh, right, okay, so something's going to happen here. But I don't know if it's the same bit you're talking about. But remember the bit where she's at the top of the stairs, and she's come down because she thinks she's heard something, and she just gets at the side of her ears.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was a scary part. Like I definitely say
that was like building up the tension, Kel. Whereas that was like I really enjoyed those parts instead of just being like something that scary happens out of nowhere. It was the fact that it sort of was building up the tension, and you were kind of like worried about or scared what was going to happen. And even if nothing happened, it was still a scene where it built up, and you were feeling frightened until either something did happen or it was like a false alarm and you didn't see anything. It still added to it, I thought.
Yeah, and these are the types of movies where you just need to embrace what they are, right? Storylines are always a bit of a contentious conversation with them, and especially when they say things like inspired by true events, right? Because we mentioned that earlier, everybody laughed. Nobody typically is going to believe in that type of stuff, but if you do, then it can make it even more frightening. I think the film does really well at making you feel that fear, like making you feel that scared part of it. And I prefer these paranormal style movies to a horror movie, because some like horror movies can be that ridiculous and gory, and they don't quite hit that same scare factor as what this type of movie does. But I'm going to bring Daniel in because he's a bit more of an expert in this compared to the rest of us.
I wouldn't say an expert, but I mean I've watched a lot of horror films. So I mean, because there'll be people watching this that have watched loads of horror films over the years, right? And these are not the two movies we're watching are not particularly scary films. They're just sort of your bog standard modern horror films. But I think The Conjuring does quite a good job at building tension, like you guys say. I think the first 45 minutes of it's quite good. And then I think, once they actually bring in the paranormal investigating team and set up the cameras, and like it's now like a whole thing with exorcisms and like there's a demon, it loses it for me. So I mean, like everything in this film's in the tension, and then once the tension's gone, it's only about 45 minutes into the film, then you've got most of the film's kind of lost it for me. It becomes a bit shitty, like watching Finding Ghosts on a true reality TV series type thing. What's his name? Derek Acora. Becomes a bit like that. I mean, yeah. So I think this is one of those that have potential to be good. It's one of the things in modern horror films that happens a lot, that you get a really good beginning, or even right up until the point where they actually reveal who the bad guy is, or who the enemy is, or the demon, or whatever the fucking thing that's what to kill folk is. And at that point, the mystery's gone, and it kind of just dies a death a little bit for me. This is even worse for me than Insidious. We'll talk about it probably more than that. The Conjuring's definitely better out of the two. But I think it starts off well. It's got good intentions, and then the last sort of hour I was kind of lost at that point. It never really got me back into it at all.
Fair play. It's not quite got the same effect on Daniel as it did to Sean, that's for sure. Burnsy, you're one that's not watched many horror movies in his time. Take us through your thoughts and feelings.
So I watched this last Monday, and because I don't know how many horror movies I've seen before, but not many. So I watched it in daylight, like because I was worried that
and Sean's judging you right now.
Offline last Monday that I didn't think it was that scary at the time. And I think it was only when I was like at night I was going to bed and I was thinking, that was actually quite scary. I think it took a while for it to actually relive what had happened throughout the film. It maybe just all happened at once. I didn't really take it all in. Like you touched on, Ken, I'm really dubious that it's based on true events. It just seems that far-fetched, and I'm not buying it really, but I'm sure you'll go into that in detail maybe in your trivia bits. I thought in terms of the briefly on the storyline of the film, I thought it worked well in terms of how it was the kid that had spotted it first before the mother had then got involved in it. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed really the whole film. I think I'm different to Daniel in terms of when The Exorcism took cap, when that was going down that for the story, is that it seemed as if that was the right way for the storyline to go. I don't know if that's maybe because I don't know if a lot of horror films go down that line, Daniel, or whether it was just some more horror, more parts to be scared at. Whereas for me, I thought the carnage that was going on with that towards the end of the film, I thought that was really well done. I did think that Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren, I thought he was really poor. I just thought everyone was quite wooden. But I thought the person that played Lorraine Warren, like his wife, I thought she was really good in it. You felt like real emotion to her, whereas the guy, I just thought there was just nothing to him. It was as if everyone was just getting read off a script in terms of actually showing any care to the film whatsoever.
He's so bad, man. He's terrible. I think he's so, like. He actually destroys the next film as well. Like I've put him written down for the next. I got through
my review, but I can give you that complete. I can't believe there was 2 films he's in both of them. After I watched the first one, this is the first one I watched. And after I watched that, I'm like, oh my god, he's in R1 Taser. He must be better.
See, every time I see him, I just think it's the Wish version of Matthew McConaughey. You've ordered Matthew McConaughey off of Wish, and that's what you've got. Patrick Wilson.
He's so bad, man. I've never seen him be good in anything. Like he's so shit as an actor.
Well, that's only 2 I've seen. I hope I didn't watch another film. I'll put it that way. But I was quite scared of points as well. Now thinking back to it, like when I went to our bed, like all the doors were getting checked, all the windows were getting shut, even though it was fucking like 30 degrees heat. I was just scared. I felt like I slept alright, but I think it was just more the fear of going to my bed that particular night. But the build up in terms of you suggested, Kyle, even if there was the tension getting built up, and even if there was something scary that happened or jumping out or whatever, or if there was nothing, I thought that was really well done. So I enjoyed it through. This is one that I would be quite open to watching the second movie on it. It was scary, but it wasn't ridiculously one. It was still something you could take in and enjoy to an extent, even though you were feared quite a few times throughout it.
Well, listen, feel free to. I watched the second one a few days after watching this, and it's and also another inspired by true event story that happened in England. But the same investigators of so you have to grin and bear Patrick Wilson for another.
Do that in that case.
But don't worry.
I think you're going to have a wee love for horror films, Craig. I can see it in you. This is good. I'm going to get you on the loads of stuff.
But Hunter,
I think his real affection is for Lorraine, who was also the focus of his main interest in The Departed as well. She was the point in the love triangle.
I've got that in my notes.
Oh, aye.
That's what she was, aye.
I wonder who the baby was. It was Patrick Wilson's baby all along.
Even the main part of the storyline for me. None of it means who's the dad.
Aye, it's a demon who's the dad.
Patrick Wilson's the dad.
So did you think that was a prequel to The Departed then?
Is it no like? I was viewing that as a second film of the two.
Well, I tell you what, this had a better storyline than The Departed anyway, that's for sure. Hunter, take it over to you.
Yes, well, as we sort of touched on sort of off screen, the horror genre is not one that I have much enjoyment with at all. I don't know where I've maybe possibly stemmed from watching The Exorcist when I was young and not being scared by it, so I don't know if I've maybe just got like a defence mechanism or whatever, but I can see things happening before they happen, so it maybe takes away some of that being caught up in the tension and being brought in by it. But I did think that compared to Insidious, this was the slightly better of the two films. I don't know if it's maybe because of the true events aspect. I did feel maybe the sort of the first half, the first whatever, it did feel more like a film. There was more going on. There was a bit of depth and understanding to maybe what the storyline was going into. But once the supernatural occurrences sort of took hold, it just sort of just seemed to all spiral out of control. I mean, with everything that was going on up to and including the exorcism, it just felt like pretty much almost every horror cliche was thrown in such a short space of time. I mean, you were pretty much just a werewolf and a vampire away from getting the horror cliche bingo scored off.
That was Patrick Wilson. He plays both of them.
Yeah, it was. I just felt almost at times as well, and I know we'll probably touch on it more with Insidious, but I don't know if it was just because it was, again, James Wan and again Patrick Wilson, but some of it did feel very much cut and paste between the two films.
Yeah.
Like, family goes into a new home, there's a bit of a backstory to which would have added, I think, maybe a bit more depth. Like, for example, where Lorraine and Ed, obviously they've been doing this for years, they're lecturing at university and whatever else, and they've, like that bit where they've got that guy and they're performing exorcism on him and he starts getting the cross coming out his kidney and whatever else, like some of that would have maybe added a bit more credence into it and took away some of that stuff that what they were doing at the house with the exorcism, take some of that stuff out, a lot of that didn't need to be there. And also, why did he keep all these trophies in the house and wondering why the Wayne's created it for it? Like, I don't know maybe what happens in the 2 or 3, but I thought this Annabelle doll was going to have a lot more to do with this storyline.
I'll come on to that.
That's quite
that was just to set. It was to set up a franchise essentially in this film, so they had loads of things in there that could eventually be spin-offs on their own. Essentially.
So, as part of the trivia I've got here, that the first film in the Conjuring universe, and it's an extended cinematic universe of horror films. So as of June 2021, the franchise has 7 films in total. 8 now because there's a Conjuring in the cinema just now. 3 Conjuring films. There's 3 Annabelle movies as well. There's The Nun, who has a larger part in the second one. And there's one here I know nothing about, but it's The Curse of La Llorona, which is meant to be scarier. I did see that on someone's list as being a scary movie. Just while I'm on the trivia, sorry, Daniel, you go.
So I was just going to say, so like to Hunter's point about like the horror tropes, right? I think, see the reason this isn't iconic like so many iconic horror films. I think this is always decided in the EU for between whether something works well or not in a horror film is that there needs to be a presence of a bad guy rather than a good guy. So this one, you're going to continue following on with the family of whatever they're called again, I forget their family name.
The parents.
And they're going to keep doing paranormal investigations, right? So that makes you realise, you know straight away that at the end of every film, they're going to carry on doing more investigations, so there's no real threat, right? So the best movies like Halloween, you had Mike Myers, or like Nightmare on Elm Street's Freddy Krueger, or even anything that's got a focal point that could come back and still fucking get you, do you know what I mean? And then that's what carries on afterwards to give you sequels, like Ep8 Part 1 and 2 or whatever. And this falls apart because the bad guy is just the idea of ghosts. And the idea of ghosts isn't that scary, whereas like a guy with fucking knives for fingers that gets you when you fall asleep, that's fucking scary, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
General ghosties. And I think that's where both of these don't quite hit the mark. And I think a lot of modern horror films are very much like this. It's just the Paranormal Activity totally started it. It was just the idea that shit might happen is the bad guy, which kind of loses it for me.
We should maybe have then added a second category onto the wheel of slasher movies, so that we can get these types of ones in there as well. As Sean goes sheet white as we say that.
I mean, to clarify, like I do think paranormal stuff's still important, but like as long as there's like a particular paranormal fucking being that you're going after, like Annabelle, for example, that's got its own thing, and that's probably more popular now than the Conjuring. Is the Annabelle franchise? It's because there's something to be scared of, like an actual thing, and that's, you know, that Annabelle's going to be in the next one, so it's not going to fucking get killed, is it? It's still going to be there, fucking getting you in your sleep, Sean. So like that's why it's.
I'm gonna send an Annabelle doll to Sean's house.
100% it's happening, by the way.
There's going to be a little parchment paper and some crayons lying beside it as well. Just get them.
Delivery instructions. You just put clap when you clap at the front door.
we'll get like a Build-A-Bear one and get a voice put into it. Just have it on a timer.
I just laughed for half hour or so.
We're giving too much away there. I'm here now.
I look at him. He can't sit still. So guys,
we're just going to have a wee notice though saying leave deliveries with neighbour.
Fucking hate my neighbour too.
do you know what? We'll get the neighbour in and the neighbour will just keep moving it back to your front door every day and taking it away. Just to read some of the trivia, guys, that I did pick up from it. So 8 generations of families lived and died in the house before the parents moved in. Andrea parents suggested that some of the spirits from the families had never left. Deaths included 2 documented suicides, a poisoning, a rape and murder of an 11-year-old girl, 2 drownings, and 4 men froze to death as well. Most deaths occurred within the Arnold family.
Sorry, carry on.
Most deaths occurred within the...
You grew up in council houses in Camelin instead of Smear. That's just a normal house.
That's just happened randomly. Now, listen, I grew up seeing folk having sword fights outside.
That's normal.
But most deaths occurred within the Arnold family, from which Bathsheba Sherman was descended, was obviously the person in question. The real Bathsheba Sherman was suspected of witchcraft and killing an infant child, which is ultimately a big chunk of this movie. But her name was legally cleared after being found not guilty by a court of law. She then died of natural causes in 1885, not by the hanging as the movie portrays. She was buried in Harrisfield, Rhode Island. So the hanging in the tree was something added for the movie itself.
That was added, and they took out all the parts that she was just a normal lady whose daughter died sadly, and it wasn't her.
So the rest of it's true. Just know the tree. We mentioned about the extended universe. The Warrens also investigated the Amityville horror case, which for me, the Amityville horror movie with Ryan Reynolds in it was one of the few horror movies that actually terrified me the first time I watched it. I did not like that at all, but I didn't like it because I was petrified of it. And it's one I've been saying to Sarah that we need to watch. I want to watch it to see if it has the same effect from now. When the movie was shown in the Philippines, some cinemas had to hire Catholic priests to bless the viewers before showing it. This is due to some viewers having reported a negative presence after watching the film. The priest also provided spiritual and psychological help to the viewers. So there you go, Sean. A negative presence latches onto you when you watch this movie.
Class.
Was a negative presence named Father Joe?
Well, listen, let's not talk about Sean's high school experience. That's another terrifying one. So, anybody got anything else you want to add on to The Conjuring?
The Conjuring.
Conjuring, sorry. Sorry, you cunt. You can...
Be the presenter of this, come on.
I know.
The title of the film. Like.
I'll shut up and let you carry on with the whole rest of it,
Put
Sean.
some respect on its name.
You crack on and do the rest of this, man, my friend.
He was a wee bit annoyed there, Sean.
I'm sitting in the background spinning the wheel there now to make sure it lands on slasher/horror for next week for when I show it.
I'm fine with I don't really. I'm not kind of scared of slasher films.
We're having a Freddy Krueger week next week.
Freddy Krueger's paranormal and a slasher, so he's going to get you.
I've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like that, but I've seen all that.
That will scare
Sean,
the shit
do us a favour, don't watch any clips of it, but just Google the song.
Oh no, Laurie sings it to me.
That's the worst part of the whole film.
She does, she sings it to me. She says to scare me all the time.
Happy days. So guys, let's then get on to giving this some marks then. Like I said, a 7.5 from IMDb. So what are the morons giving it? Sean, we'll come to you first.
I'm going to give this a normal rating, but I'm also going to give it a scale rating, just because it's a horror film, just for a bit of fun. I'm going to give it a scale rating for me of an 8 out of 10. And for our leaderboard, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5.
A 2.5, but a new scale added by a moron on the scare scale. An 8 out of 10 for the scare scale. Daniel, what's your moron rating and your scare scale?
Scare scale for this, try to be objective. The first time I watched it, probably a 4 for the first half, and then a 1 for the rest of it. And for my actual score, I'm going to give it a 1.75.
1.75. Burnsy.
I'm going to give it a scare rating of 6 out of 10. It didn't scare the shit out of me, which was its downfall really, but, and as Daniel said, it's levelled off obviously the further it went in. I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5.
3.5. Burnsy, is it better than No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
And this time he's actually scored at a full point higher than No Country for Old Men.
Should be doing that.
You've been too kind to No Country for Old Men, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's funny because there's not even any car chases in this one. Hunter.
Scare rating. See, I'm trying to think of the sense as in, with A, was I scared, or B, could I see how other people would be scared? So I'll maybe even it out to a 3 out of 10 for the scare rating for me, and a 1.5 out of 5 for me.
Got a couple of fucking tough men in there with the low scare ratings, eh?
Oh, yeah. Absolute unit.
Fucking big men that watched it with the lights off and that as well, eh?
They've left the door unlocked and everything.
Daniel set a dollar.
I watched the losing finalists as well, just because I wanted more scaring me. So.
I've watched half of the trailer of Hereditary. I'm not watching any more.
I wish that I'd won, to be honest. That would have been good.
The trailer's enough. For me, I'll give it quite high in the scare rate. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It did the effects for me. There's loads of points where I was like, what was getting the hair standing up the back of my neck sort of thing. I enjoyed the movie, so I'm going to give it a 2.25. I would definitely watch it again, unless I carried on and watched the second one. That I would recommend to those that did enjoy it. Bunsy, I think I've bought you enough time there for the numbers.
That's a 2.3.
A 2.3. And guys, I did do a little VAR check obviously on the score for Inglourious Bastards, and it was a little bit higher than what I said at the start there. At the start I put 2.5 on the leaderboard because that's what I scored at the time, but that
was your score.
these other morons for some reason scored it higher. Overall that came in at a 3.9. But for this movie here, a 2.3. It comes in the leaderboard, putting it in. It's absolutely bang on, joint 32nd with Knives Out. I would watch this over Knives Out.
I've scored them both quite similarly, to be fair. Also, I remembered to put everything up on Instagram this week, so Instagram gave this a 3.72 overall. They liked it better than us.
Instagram a 3.72. How many people were connecting with us on Instagram this week?
So again, we're getting that sort of 500 to 600 votes that was for Sean's week this week, and quite a lot of people gave us their ratings for this, so we had double figures for both anyway. I
want to give you a big shout out here, Daniel, on some absolutely incredible pictures that got put up alongside Sean's week when you were asking questions from the public.
There's just no many pictures of you here, because some of them were like, Christ, man.
Oh, Sean, it took me a long time finding those pictures, man. You've not got much of it. No, you've not got much of an online presence.
You absolutely done them dirty with some of the pictures, which was awesome. Blue Raptor 6969, well, hi to you too, welcome in. So that wraps us up for the Conjuring. Did I pronounce that right enough for you, Sean?
Yes, okay.
Happy
so
days.
10 attempts to do it.
Stop pretending you're proper, eh? It's the Conjuring, right? That'll do. Let's move on to Insidious then. I think we've already mentioned a little bit about Insidious, but to give you a bit of an idea of the movie itself, it stars everybody's favourite actor in Patrick Wilson. This movie came out in 2010. It's an hour and 43 minutes of goodness. It is a 6.8 out of 10 on Instagram, so it is rated lower than Insidious. This is a family looks to prevent evil spirits from trapping their comatose child in the realm called The Fervour. Let's see, directed by James Wan, also starring Patrick Wilson. Sean, we're going to come straight back to you as the horror expert. Take us through your thoughts on Insidious. And if you've got any little songs that you want to sing that have reminded you of this movie, feel free.
Yeah, I only finished this an hour ago, so we closed the curtains in the living room to make it a bit darker, but it was still pretty light. And I found this much more terrifying than The Conjuring. You'll be surprised to know you've absolutely battered this, but obviously I'd never seen any of this at all. I also think about Patrick Wilson, poor guy, like he's focusing on acting skills in a fucking horror film. Like, just it's not meant to be.
You feel scared on acting though.
No, he's not there to make you scared. He's not there to
but it's the acting.
But it should be act. I like what Bungie said. It should be act.
I actually thought that it was.
His job is to convey the storyline so you then feel scared watching it. And he's not doing that.
I didn't think he was that great in the Conjuring, but I actually thought he was a bit better here. But anyway, this fucking scared me shitless. It really did. Usually I'm going to shit in it in a minute, which is fine. But it was, and there's no way that I could have watched that at night and not have been turned off 100%.
What was the scariest part for you, Sean?
The scariest part for me was when they moved to the new place. And a lot of this, because it kind of threw me, because obviously I said in the first film I'm more relaxed when it's during the daytime and then at night time. Yeah. A lot of this happened during the day, which completely threw me, and I wasn't expecting half of it. One of the bits that kind of scared me the most, even in reflection, it doesn't seem that scary, but when they moved to the new place and she's taking the bins out and she's got a song playing in the background, and then that song changes and you put the wee boy with the hat on dancing in the house, like not children terrify me, but like children in horror films terrifies me. So I heard all the stuff that kind of gets me kind of freaked out and stuff like that, innit? I watched it with Laurie again, and she kind of lost what she'd seen it before, but she kind of just ended up sitting on her phone for like the last 45 minutes where they'd gone in between the different dimensions and stuff, because she said it was unrealistic, and I just lost it laughing at it. I was like, you're saying that's unrealistic, but we just sat and watched films about fucking ghosts and ghouls. Makes no sense. But actually, I think much more scared of this film than what I was with The Conjuring. It was just I can't do and obviously it did get a bit ridiculous when she put on that gas mask and everything, you know. She put on that on for it's just a bit. But again, they didn't ruin it or anything like that. I was still scared. There was a lot more jumpy bits in this, and this was even watching it in relative kind of daylight with curtains shut. But this definitely scared me more than The Conjuring.
I'm glad you said that is your scariest part, because there's two parts of this movie that absolutely terrify me, and that part there with a little boy dancing as she looks through the window is fucking terrifying.
Oh, actually, the other bit is when she woke up in the middle of the night and that thing's pacing outside, going back, and it's getting quicker and quicker, and then he just appears in the room. Oh, fuck.
Oh, see, I'm going to say just before that, where she's got the baby monitor and she's doing her music.
Oh, that's real.
And the noises are coming through. She's getting that a little bit closer to it, and it's slow builds, and he screams, "I want it now!" And that's like for me, I'm getting chills now. It's like proper jumpy, and she has to make that decision to run towards it as well. So it's quite like a real fear factor for me. For me, this movie plays in, this is like literally a two halves movie. The first half is absolutely terrifying. Second half's ridiculous. The second half, when the lipstick demon comes out, I have checked. That is what he was referenced to, is a lipstick demon. Because one of the things I didn't realise is when they find the handprint, the red handprint on the sheets of the little boy in the coma, I just assumed it was blood. I presumed you guys would assume that as well, but it's lipstick. Mm-hmm. It kind of doesn't make it as scary, the fact that there's a lipstick hand on his bed as well. But no, definitely a two halves movie. I do think the more ridiculous that goes when they go into the fervour, and it's all about Patrick Wilson as well there, and you see the demon that's a part of it, it takes away the scariness of it because they've showed you what that demon is. Like, I think it would be much better to leave it a little bit more with the paranormal for that. I didn't think that needed to particularly be on there. But I'll let you guys talk more about it now. I want to go and play tiptoes through a little bit more for Sean.
I think I'll jump in because I think what you said is very similar to how I felt on this one and The Conjuring. I think they both fall into the same trap of shooting their load in the first half and then not really knowing what to do for the second half. And once it actually reveals what's going on, it loses it a wee bit. And this one, 10 times more than The Conjuring, to me had so much shit going on. Like, my notes are quite funny. I've just got coma, investigators, little boy, red hand, baby monitor, old lady. The dad somehow was like involved because she was like, I knew you when you were a little boy. Totally fucking random. Then it turns out that the dad didn't take photos when he was younger. What the fuck's that got to do with anything? Yeah. And then it's like, oh, there was a demon in the photos, and then that's gone. There's like another thing. There's the gas mask. I thought was fucking hilarious. It's like she wears a gas mask. The guy who saw is a terrible actor. So the two paranormal investigators, there's the younger, skinnier guy. He's also in Saw. He's shot.
Also, sorry to stop you, but did you notice that when he was in his classroom phoning the wife saying, I'm not behaving tonight, Jigsaw's drawing the blackboard?
I did not.
Jigsaw's drawing the blackboard. I never knew that guy was in Saw. I never placed him, but when he was sitting on the phone or in his classroom and he was obviously after like the hangs hands at night and he phoned Bruce's arm marking papers, somebody had drawn Jigsaw on the blackboard.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Never clocked that.
Is that even in your trivia, Kyle?
It isn't.
Maybe you're the first person that ever watched it.
Or maybe it just never happened and Sean picked it. Imagine Jigsaw being there as part of him.
The only bit that was looking at my TV stand.
But then it completely loses it for me after that. So after she comes, and then after that, it turns out that the dad was somehow like a mega dream wizard when he was young, and he's got the power to go in and get him. And then it just became, what I thought doing was, it was like an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what the second half of this feels like. Because, I mean, see when he eventually goes and finds the wee boy. Is that like a weird waiting room? Like the lipstick demon thing's up in an office or something? What the fuck was that?
It was a bit bizarre. If they just kept it pitch black, I would have been better, but to make it like it was like something like a house of horrors, like you would go to Blackpool, like fucking like a big scale. Like it was just a bit too much, but it is what it is. It's not like I don't think these films are meant to be masterpieces or anything like that. No modern day ones anyway. I've not watched a lot of the old school horrors, but I'm pretty sure you're in a better position, Daniel, to say that.
Aye. I'd even say now as modern horror films, there's a lot of very good stuff, like that I would say is good outside the fact that it's a horror film. Like I think if Hereditary had won, that's good. Like that's a good film. Prisoners, which was on there, I think it's good. There was quite a few options that I thought. I was quite surprised with the two we ended up with, to be honest. I think it's just because they're maybe the two most popular at the moment and they're fresh in people's minds as horror films that you first think of. But,
they must be popular. We have other Instagram accounts also reviewing these two exact movies this week, Daniel.
If you're watching, guys, cut it out.
Or at least tag us.
Daniel puts a lot of effort into the Instagram account, and you put effort into watching the films and reviewing them, so just stop it.
Clip that, please. Somebody clip that.
Yeah.
So, just search the trivia back up there, Sean. It does say director's trademark at around 30 minutes when Josh is in the classroom.
I've just put a picture in the group chat, by the way. Sorry.
On the chalkboard behind him, the name James Wan can clearly be seen, as well as the drawing of Billy the puppet from Saw.
Aye, that's no Jigsaw about the puppet, you know what I mean? But aye, I've just put a picture.
We knew what you meant. We knew what you meant. Sorry. Let's Daniel, any more you want to add there before we pass it over?
No, I mean I do like the little bits of this. Like see the little boy. See if the whole film was about a scary little boy, that would be amazing. But it's just a little boy. It would be terrifying. But would you not be more scared to find out that he was a evil killer boy? ghosts.
Do you know what I wanted?
And that was all about.
I want a little bit more. See when his little brother said, like, I'm scared at night because he's walking around.
Yeah.
Show us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just shutting the door and then that's it.
Show little snippets of that, because that would have been scary.
Don't need to. him mentioning it.
I think see, knowing how Sean gets scared for a watch along, I think we need to do a watch along with Ethan Hawke. It was in the list.
Sinister.
That's what we should do for Sean. I think.
Again, it's another one that Laurie picks in quite a lot, and I've seen bits and bobs there. I think it's again, I can't watch it because it is scary, but
it's scary. Like I saw that in the cinema. But we'll need to do something for the watch along. Get folk to vote, and then we'll do it.
Well, guys, if we get enough votes in there, we will do a 24-hour watch along where we watch horror movies back to back consistently.
And then will we just finish off the Conjuring and Insidious franchises too?
There we go. Why not? And we'll play the background music.
Patrick Wilson to
We'll have Tiptoeing Through the Tulips as the background music for the whole thing as well. Sean has left the chat. Burnsy, let's bring you in here more.
This was definitely the worst of the two for me. I tried watching this to make it more scary, but after the first one, I said I was watching the lights on. She put everything dark in the house. First bit was fairly scary. I think I messaged you and just said I was feared that somebody was up in my loft after the start. But the rest of it, it just didn't really hit the spot for me. I just didn't find it that scary. Without going into too much detail, I thought Patrick Wilson was horrendous. Just didn't do, like I sort of touched on earlier, didn't make, when he was sort of one of the main characters in it, is he had no emotion, didn't make me feel scared whenever he was on the screen. There was no reactions at all. I thought the woman playing his wife, she played her role pretty well. But the twist, like as Daniel said as well, it kind of was a film with two halves as well. The first half was fairly enjoyable, a bit scary, obviously leading up to the build-up of where the twist where Josh goes through and tries to get his son, but that was where it kind of lost me as well. I just thought that bit was completely pointless, because you knew it wasn't, he was going into a sort of different universe. That was the scenes there, although there was meant to be scary points at it, I didn't feel scared because I knew it was like it was in his mind instead of being real life outside the different universe. I guess the twist at the end with him strangling the Elise was a bit different. I didn't see that coming, but overall it just wasn't a good horror movie for me whatsoever. Just thought it was really poor.
A poor movie, but scared you more.
I think that's very fair. Very fair.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think I was expecting to be a lot more scared. I was thinking, right, I'm going to hopefully be scared shitless, and throughout it just didn't do it.
See, you've got the hunger of a horror fan. You want to be scared. You're hooked. I'm going to get you more. This is it.
Yeah, well, that's it. We'll have some offline horror movies that we don't discuss just now. We can maybe give little snippets in Craig's Corner we're going to have in.
I think because
we could convince them which horror film to watch. That's quite a good idea.
I think because after the first one, I thought I actually enjoyed it being scared at bits, and I thought, right, this is going to tip me over the edge. And I can't remember if I don't know if it was you, Ken, that said what one was as scary. I think it was Daniel that said I might be more scared by Insidious than The Conjuring. I think it was you, Daniel. And then so I was going in with an open mind thinking this could be even better, but no.
I definitely find this one a lot. Not that I think that this is a level below The Conjuring in terms of fear factor for me. But. And
I also, just to finish off, as I know we sort of said, like, try not to concentrate on the storyline because it is a horror film, but it went away of being too ridiculous that I want realism with it instead of just being completely off the scale and just losing interest in it in the second half of the film.
Well, guys,
it veers too much into the fantasy
aspect
rather than being a sort of horror. Like I suppose, have any of you seen Stranger Things yet? I suppose, obviously, Kyle's seen Stranger Things.
I seen season 1, but it's no fun.
That's the exact same thing. The first half of this is season 1 of Stranger Things is quite good, but then once you find out that there actually is this alternate dimension, it's like, oh, that's a bit of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the fear goes away from it. Guys, I think Sean's maybe had enough of us. He keeps popping in and out of the chat. I do think he's having some... You still here?
Here, I don't know what's going on. Aye, so my Skype started updating on my laptop and just closed it down. It's done the update, came back on, but I couldn't hear any use at all, so I've just jumped on my phone.
Well, you're still here hiding in the background there. Maybe it has got a bit darker outside as well. I'm worried for you, Sean.
It's a paranormal going on here.
The lipstick demon might be coming and playing around with your computer to distract you while it plans to take you tonight. But Burnsy, with your hunger of watching horror movies at the time, I'm going to make you an offer here. If I jump on, this movie's not free on any of the platforms just now, but I will go on and I will rent it for the next 48 hours. But will you go on and watch Nightmare on Elm Street?
Well, I've taken a note, when Daniel said that, I've taken a note that to put it on when it comes to my films, I was going to put that on as an option.
Well, I will go on and rent it ASAP.
I'll tell you when I want to rent it, that'd be easier.
Okay. But you
force it watching 48.
Yeah, I want to watch it. Watch it tonight, right now. Sorry guys, there's a fly kicking around this room. Watch it tonight.
Wait till there's an international break on or something.
You won't sleep anyway after watching it. It doesn't really matter. Hunter, let's pull you in for a little bit more information from you about Insidious or Insidious, as Bunzy says. Daniel, you've got a big white erection on the screen.
As soon as I started, and there was that. The opening credits with that over-the-top, cliched horror music, I was just throwing that at that point there. I was like, this is just going to be a big bag of shite. And I was like... to give it some credit, I did have a slight jump at one point, which is funny enough, you're calling that guy the lipstick demon. I refer to him as a camp Darth Maul.
Joe, did any of you ever watch the Powerpuff Girls back in the day?
No.
Aye, that's it.
You know who I'm talking about, eh? Aye. The reminds me of that red thing for the Powerpuff Girls.
Aye, so there's a bit where that Elise comes in and the Patrick Wilson is being convinced. I think this is the first time anything paranormal happens where he's in the house and that guy just appears behind him on screen. I did get a slight jump at that point, but apart from that, it was just horrific viewing. Now, what it reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen it, there's an episode of Family Guy where like the house is built on an Indian burial ground and Stewie's soul gets taken by some sort of thing beyond the static in the telly and they've got to communicate to them through a seance or something like that. This film just felt like a bit of copy of that. He was lying in a coma, but his soul was in another dimension. They had to speak to him. I think that's what it was, just lifted the script from an episode of Family Guy and tried to make a film out of it. I did think for a while, the way you were all talking before, that I was maybe a bit dead inside because I wasn't scared by any of the film, but then Rapunzel said that they find this one a bit scary. And then I do remember like did one of the things at Blackpool where you run through the house and you've got the folk that jump out on you. I was scared during that because that's because I'm there, I'm feeling it in person, but watch it, I think it's maybe just the aspect of the other medium of watching it on film. It doesn't quite draw me in, whereas actually seeing somebody in a mask, even though you know it's just a person in a mask, they scare you, because you're there feeling it in person, you actually do get that scare factor. Whereas maybe just the films, maybe that's all it is. So I'm not worried that there's
I'm just going to put it down to you being dead inside, Hunter, though. Just leave it at that, mate.
I think we'll be able to find some horror films that will scare you. That's now a new mission as well. Find something that scares you.
Sean's like, fuck off.
The scariest film in the world that I've ever seen is a 12. The one that Daniel Radcliffe's in. Genuinely the scariest film I've ever seen in my life.
Daniel's leaving there now. Is that the Woman in Black?
The Woman in Black. I'm pretty sure it's a 12A, so if you're like 8, you can go as long as you're with someone over 12.
I had to go with my mum to see that. It was that scary.
Sean was 26 at the time.
Joe was funny about this, right? At the weekend, my daughter's 10, right, and she wanted to watch her first sort of proper horror film, so we watched The Visit, M. Night Shyamalan. Very easy horror film for a 10-year-old, it was fine. But I would say that if The Woman in Black is one that I thought, that's a nice, easy one for a 10-year-old, was my thoughts. And Sean's called it the scariest movie ever.
Well, guys, I'm just looking at the ratings for them just now, and Insidious is a PG-13.
That's nonsense.
a PG-13 for Insidious, so it shouldn't be that scary. Guys, do we have anything else we want to add on to Insidious?
No.
What I would say, what I've got written down is, we get told when this at least comes that this dark energy matter is followed on from the previous house. I want to know what happened there. I think that would have added a bit more to it rather than just saying, oh, they've moved house and this thing's followed on because the boy could travel into the dimension in his dreams. Yes, maybe that scary stuff that apparently happened there rather than just seeing them again, copy and paste, father moves to a new house and scary stuff's happening.
Well, so
let us see the basis, the foundation of what's caused and how this happened.
So part of the trivia, I
was going
to say part of the trivia that I picked up in there is saying this is a rare haunted house movie where the wife complains to the husband about the house being haunted. He actually believes her, so they move, and then the ghost follows them. Usually the husband stupidly doesn't believe them, and they stay in the house until the ghost attack for one last time.
It is always that order. It's always the wife believes it, the husband doesn't, and then he's sceptical about everything. He's a boring guy, and then it turns out that she's right every time.
Is that not just life in general? That
I've just realised that's just everything.
That's just every conversation agenda you've ever had with a female companion.
Even Sean's the Sean movie, the one that was shit theatre, and wouldn't believe him.
Yeah, there is definitely a roles reversal.
True.
Sean's like, leave the light on and shut the door and lock the door and bolt the door and put a chair up against the handle.
I honestly, I dread to. I'm genuinely thinking about going to stay at my mum's this weekend if she's night shift.
Sean, Laurie's waiting till you're asleep. She's going to go. So there wasn't much more to add for the trivia in this. One of the I did think it was quite interesting that the film was only shot in 3 weeks. Don't know if that shows in terms of the creativeness.
You can tell.
But spoiler alert for this one, for the second movie. But it says although the old woman demon is played by a man, it's not until they started working on the sequel that the filmmakers then decided to make the woman actually a man dressed as a woman.
It's exactly like that Hank the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to send this as a group chat, and it's the exact same. It's sold to the Powerpuff Girls, that thing.
There we go. Exposed here. Insidious was the Powerpuff Girls. Happy days, guys. Let's jump in and give this a score. We'll give it also a scare score. Did I call it that earlier? That Sean's decided to make up. Sean, you go first, mate.
A 10 out of 10 for scaring me, but again, it's no hard thing to do. And I'll give it I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
What's interesting about this, Sean, is you've only just watched it as well. You're going to have to sleep tonight. You might drift away into the fervour. We should all message Laurie and tell her to play Tiptoe Through the Tulips tonight when he's trying to sleep.
I'll make sure she's sleeping first, but that'll just make me even more scared.
Hey, Daniel, what do you give it as a scare score?
A 2 or something for this one. It doesn't do anything for me. I would like my 10 to watch it.
For a 10 to a 2.
And as a movie, I'm giving it a 1.
A 1. Sean's at a completely different scale here from you. Burnsy?
I'm going to give it a generous 3 for a scare rating. I think it's even quite. I'm doing well to give it that. And I'm going to give it a 1.25 overall.
Because you're made of steel, man.
Couple of hard men still there. Hunter's giving it 2 zeros.
I was going to give it a slightly higher scale than the other one because that guy did give me a wee fight when I see appeared behind Patrick Wilson in that one scene in the kitchen table. However, now knowing he's called the Lipstick Demon, he's just the lost out of scare factor they've ever had for me. So mark it down to a 2 for the scare score for me, and then a 0.75 out of 5 for the general rating.
Oh, jeez. It's getting rough out here, guys. I'm going to give it... I'm literally going to give it a straight in the middle 5 out of 10 for the scare because... And I'll justify this with... I think the first half is quite scary and the second half isn't. So, I kind of really... I'm scared in the first part. The movie's not as bad as a 0.7, but it's definitely not as bad as The Conjuring. So I'm going to give it a 1.5 for my score in there because it totally loses it in the second half of the film. When Camp Darth Maul comes in, I like that. Go on, Burnsy, what are we scoring this one then?
Given it what your rating is, it's a 1.5 overall.
A 1.5 overall. So when we go to the leaderboard, and the leaderboard then brings this movie slightly above the worst movie we've ever seen, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and below The Five Bloods. Daniel, what's your thoughts on this?
This is above the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yes.
Oh, man. What's wrong with us, man?
Bunsy, is this better than No Country for Old Men?
Levels.
I would say it's on par.
This is Daniel trying.
Do you know what's actually bothering me now is that I'm terrified that this running joke is going to become There Will Be Blood from next week onwards. I fear that this is going to now be a new thing with a new movie.
Oh, Mivrak, thanks for the hearts. Welcome in, guys. So that then brings us to the end of the 2 movies that we have watched and reviewed for last week. So The Conjuring coming in at a 2.3 and Insidious coming in at a 1.5. So I think this is a really good time to wrap up Horror Week. I really enjoyed it. It's been a hot topic in my household all week about horrors. What other ones can we watch? We've watched lots of trailers, and I think it's opened up that we'll probably watch more of this in this house. Burnsy being hooked in is the bit I'm most impressed by. In fact, that he's actually considering watching other movies off his own back. So a really good one to be on the wheel, but we will bring that back to the wheel at some point soon, just for Sean's benefit. Now, we're going to go in and talk about the movies that we're going to review for next week. So they are up on the screen just now for everyone to see. These movies came directly from Sean's picks. So Sean, do you remember the 2 that were made, for that won on Instagram, sorry?
American Gangster and finally There Will Be Blood.
There we go. So There Will Be Blood has been on the shortlist for a number of weeks now and it's never quite made the cut. So finally getting on there after being requested for a long time for some of the morons. I'm quite excited. I've never seen it. There's no car chases in it as well, so it's probably going to be about a 0.5 for me. At least Mega Shark versus Colossus had some sort of action in it. So movies for next week. If you have, the first 5 minutes of that film made it a 5 out of 5. If anyone has seen these movies, please send some comments to our Instagram account. The Instagram account, I've still not fixed it down the bottom there, but it is Morons Reviewing Movies, not Morons Movies. But the guy running the Instagram account's only mentioned once or twice for me to fix that. So feel free to drop some comments on your thoughts on this movie. I think we'll have a lot of discussion about this movie over the next week. But what we need to do now is get the wheel spun so we can see what is going to come for the following week's movies. Guys, is there any categories that you're looking for?
Do we have like a 90s action? I feel like we need an action movie. We've not had one for a while.
So when we look at the list, 90s action is on there. Some things jump out to me. I want to pick my own movies.
Of course.
Foreign language is one that I'd love. Give me some foreign language movies. And followers decide. I think followers decide would be really, really interesting because we do get a lot of interaction on Instagram. So when there's a couple hundred people voting on these, we might get some really good random suggestions.
Well, I was going to suggest if we do ever get that, whichever follower does it comes on and does the movies with us.
We will feel free to invite you.
Just put out a post and ask who wants to be considered in a draw, and we do a draw, and whoever comes out the draw gets to pick a film.
Exactly.
Lots and lots of good ideas, guys.
That's what you just said, Daniel. Oh, sorry.
No, you explained it better than me.
Okay. So the wheel is spinning now. So round we go. It's always the most intense part of the week. Oh, stay! No, don't go! Oh, no! Ah, I'm absolutely gutted. It is just and no more clicked over animated movies.
Oh.
And it's landed on 80s action.
Oh, here we go. That'll be good.
Yeah.
80s action movies.
Let's watch Lambo.
So there will also be some really good choices on there. So guys, please feel free to keep an eye on the Instagram account. Have a look at what is getting up there. Get your votes in and get selecting what movies it is that we're going to be watching. We are going to then jump straight into American Gangster, and there will be blood for next week. And then we'll get the movies selected for the week after. But thank you very much for spending the time with us here. I think we've had about a good 20 to 25 people throughout the whole stream tonight. So thank you for those that have stayed. So it is goodbye from us, morons. Well, but just before we head off, guys, I keep forgetting to say this before I do it, but please feel free to hang fire. We are going to send you across to another streamer. Give them a follow and hopefully give some shouts out to the morons. Okay, take care now. Bye.